We spend our entire lives thinking that we are constantly thinking, as if our minds are always at work and we are merely observing the process. But in the modern world, this is an illusion. In reality, much of our mind has grown accustomed to accepting pre-made content rather than actively thinking. The flow of information has become so fast and abundant that the need to think has almost disappeared. Once upon a time, people read books. They would pause between the lines, reflect, make connections, and draw conclusions. The mind was forced to work. Today, however, everything is ready-made. Ready-made thoughts, ready-made interpretations, ready-made emotions. Social media, the news, and fast-paced content feed the mind in such a way that our brains seem to be on vacation. We have become a society that reacts rather than thinks. We are full of information, yet poor in understanding. Our minds skim across headlines, short videos, and fleeting emotions. There are many waves on the surface of the ocean, but very few dive into its depths. Depth requires time, patience, and discomfort. Modern technology, on the other hand, teaches us the exact opposite: speed, convenience, and instant gratification. Yet the mind is not simply a machine for receiving information. It is a multi-layered system. Each layer provides a different understanding, a different perspective, and different possibilities. Thinking is not merely repeating words, it is choosing, analyzing, challenging your own beliefs, and sometimes confronting your own mind. This process is uncomfortable, but growth begins here. This video invites you to step out of the role of an information consumer, to not settle for ready-made thoughts, and to awaken your own mind again. The goal here is not just to know more, but to think more deeply. If you are ready, this journey will take you not only to new ideas, but also to rediscover the mental power you haven't used in a long time. The ability to observe how your own mind works is the true key to deep thinking. At this stage, you are no longer merely a receiver of information. You begin to notice how information moves within you, which emotions it triggers, and which automatic reactions it sets in motion. This process is like looking into the deep waters of your own mind. The surface may appear calm, but beneath it, powerful currents are flowing. As you observe your mind, certain patterns start to emerge. Some topics immediately excite you, stirring emotional reactions and pushing you into action without giving you time to reflect. Other thoughts seem to form automatically. You don't choose them, they simply arise on their own. At this point, you start to notice a crucial distinction. You may not be the owner of every thought. Sometimes you think you are defending a particular idea, but on closer inspection, you realize that this defense doesn't come from genuine belief. It comes from comfort. The idea feels familiar, safe, and it doesn't force you to think deeply. The mind often chooses such paths, the ones that demand the least energy. These simple yet powerful observations begin to separate you from shallow thinking. You are no longer lost within your thoughts. You step into a position of watching them from the outside. Each moment of awareness is like a small light burning in the darkness of the mind. As these lights multiply, you begin to see more clearly where your thoughts come from, how they form, and how they guide you. And at this very moment, a crucial shift occurs. You are no longer just a thinker. You are moving toward becoming the author of your own thoughts. Deep thinking is not about mindlessly absorbing information. It is the ability to pause, to doubt, and to look beyond what is apparent. Not everything you hear, read, or feel is immediately true or meaningful. True thinking begins the moment you stop automatic acceptance. Understanding does not come from the sheer quantity of information. It comes from the attention you give to it. At this stage, you no longer skim over information. You stand within it. You measure the weight of an idea, try to feel where an emotion originates, and observe how your own mind reacts. To do this, it is essential to ask yourself questions such as, what does this really mean? Am I just grasping a superficial meaning, or am I approaching the core purpose and hidden message of this thought? Where does this information come from? Is its source deliberate, researched, and reliable? Or is it simply part of a widely circulated stream of opinions? Could this be true, or is it just a belief I accept because it's comfortable? Often we don't choose the truth. We choose the version that doesn't disturb us. These questions are not easy to answer, but their value lies precisely there. Each question is a door. It takes you out of the passive role of observer and turns you into someone who actively thinks, analyzes, and confronts their own mind. Asking questions is not an attack on the mind. It is a way to awaken it. Asking questions does not speed up thinking, it slows it down. But this slowing deepens attention. Every pause, every moment of doubt distances you from shallow reactions and guides you into the deeper layers of your mind. At this point, thinking is no longer mechanical. It becomes a conscious act. Deep thinking is not about knowing more. Deep thinking is about knowing where to pause and how to ask the right question. Deep thinking never begins in the comfort zone. The path to the deeper layers of your mind is rarely paved with calm. It is unlocked through discomfort, inner resistance, and difficult questions. If you truly want to understand, you must first confront the beliefs you haven't touched for years. You must set aside the ideas you comfortably own and test them under the harsh light of doubt. At this stage, thinking is no longer a safe pastime. It becomes a process that requires personal courage. So try to give yourself as honest answers as possible. What do you truly believe? Are these beliefs the result of your own experience and reasoning, or have they been shaped by the silent influence of family, society, media, or the majority? On what grounds do you defend them? Does each thought rest on facts, logic, and evidence, or do you cling to it simply because it feels comfortable? Which emotions are guiding you? Which feelings are preventing objective analysis? Anger, fear, pride, or the fear of loss can become invisible veils that stop you from seeing the truth. Discomfort is the mind's strongest signal of growth. It doesn't mean you are wrong, it means you are thinking. Don't fear it, it is a sign of progress, not regression. True ideas are not easily accepted. They are the ones that have been tested, challenged, and examined multiple times. Every challenge, every doubt, and every inner confrontation brings you one step closer to becoming not a passive carrier of your mind, but its conscious master. Thinking does not grow stronger along safe, familiar paths. It deepens when you face fears, confront yourself, and move through confusion. Deep thinking is the freedom you earn in exchange for letting go of comfort. True depth also lies in the ability to analyze, to see differences and similarities, and to evaluate information and arguments. At this stage, you move beyond simple repetition and start developing your mental skills. The process of comparison and analysis is a skill that allows you to notice nuances, hidden connections, and invisible structures between ideas. Contrast thoughts, explore their differences and similarities. Which argument is stronger and why? Which examples and pieces of information reveal the hidden picture? As you evaluate each argument, you begin to understand the layers of meaning in the differences and similarities. Examples and data do more than just describe the surface. They reveal the underlying layers, subtle nuances, and the bigger picture. At this stage, you transition from being a passive consumer of information to an active thinker. The mental process of comparison and analysis becomes a skill, a habit. You no longer just accept information, you filter it through positions, nuances, and cause and effect relationships. In this way, every idea and argument opens new perspectives, expands your mind, and takes you away from shallow thinking toward deep understanding. Comparison and analysis are the path to discovering the true power of thought. True depth lies in the ability to choose what truly matters. At this stage, you are no longer a passive consumer of information. Your thinking becomes an active and responsible act of choice. By pausing over ideas, you determine which information enriches your worldview and which is merely noise or superficial influence. Every principle, every value, and every piece of information gives you the opportunity to shape your own sense of priorities. At this stage, thinking becomes an ethical act. Because you are not just accepting information, you are directing it according to your values, principles, and goals. This is the pinnacle of actively and responsibly managing your own mind. The final stage of deep thinking is creativity. But this is not limited to painting, music, or other forms of art. Creative thinking is the ability to form your own ideas, approach problems from different angles, and discover new solutions within existing frameworks. At this stage, you are no longer just a consumer of information. You are a creator of ideas, a person who sets thought into motion. The creative thinking process works like this. First, you analyze existing information and perspectives, compare them, and identify hidden connections. Then, by combining these different pieces, you generate entirely new insights and solutions. This is not merely putting the pieces of a puzzle together. It is more about rediscovering existing pieces and shaping them into an unexpected form. You no longer simply repeat information. You now present your own ideas to the world, shape them, and actively work with them. Each new idea, model, and perspective expands the boundaries of your mind and transforms you from a passive observer into a fully independent thinker. Creative thinking also means turning experience and analytical skills into outcomes through ethical choice. Here you are not just reacting, you are the author of thought, the pioneer of ideas, and the discoverer of solutions. This pinnacle of deep thinking reveals one of the human mind's most powerful and underutilized abilities: creating ideas, bringing them into the world, and constructing new perspectives. You are no longer merely following existing ideas. You are reinventing them and guiding them as a builder. One of the highest levels of thinking is metacognition, the ability to observe, analyze, and manage your own mind. At this stage, you are no longer just someone who receives and analyzes information. You are the author and controller of your own thoughts. Metacognition allows you to understand the source of your ideas, to distinguish which thoughts and pieces of information truly belong to you, and which have merely formed under external influence. At the same time, you gain the ability to recognize your emotional reactions, seeing how anger, fear, excitement, or comfort influence your thinking. At this stage, you learn to manage your own preconceptions, moving beyond superficial judgments toward the pursuit of truth. Metacognition is not just about observing the mind, it is about regulating, correcting, and improving it. Every thought, every feeling, and every reaction becomes a skill that refines itself as you observe it. In this way, metacognition transforms you from a passive observer into a fully active and independent thinker. You are no longer a victim of random information streams. You manage your own mind, guide your thoughts, and constantly monitor your own growth. Metacognition turns thought into an object. You observe it, intervene in it, and develop it systematically. This skill is one of the most powerful tools of the human mind, allowing you to become a creative, independent thinker who makes conscious decisions. From all this, we can conclude that thinking is a habit, but not a fast or superficial one. It is slow, uncomfortable, deep, and transformative. Every moment, every careful step moves you from being merely a consumer of information to being someone who manages, chooses, and creates with their own mind. Deep thinking is freedom, responsibility, and personal power. Every question, every comparison, every creative step elevates you. You take ownership of your mind, begin to see the world differently, and guide your life with each thought. If this video has inspired you on your journey of deep thinking, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Every subscription, every like, and every comment is not just for me. It's a step forward in developing your own thinking.